Texas Republican Congressman Mac Thornberry chairs the House Armed Services Committee, joins us now live. Mr. Chairman, thanks for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so interestingly enough, Admiral Harry Harris, who is the commander of the U.S. Pacific region, says he has only half the subs he needs, and he says that he's worried about running low on munitions as well. Are we prepared should the military option become the last effort and the one we have to use with regard to North Korea?
Well, we don't have everything that we need because we have cut the military budget 20% over the last few years. So I appreciate Admiral Harris being forthright about some of those deficiencies. Now, we still have incredible military power. We can do a lot in North Asia as well as around the world. But the point is we've got to increase our presence there and rebuild our military. And that's going to take more money and, unfortunately, some time.
You've been a part of these briefings in depth with top leaders of the Trump administration talking about the realities of what you're facing. H.R. McMaster there just talking about the fact that you have to have the military option as a backup or none of the rest of it, the economic, the sanctions, the diplomacy, any of it has any real teeth. Tonight, I understand, according to our senior Capitol Hill producer, Chad Pergram, is the night you all are going to debate and vote on more sanctions. It's been 20 years of sanctions and diplomacy. How would this round of sanctions be different?
Well, it further tightens sanctions not only against North Korea, but against those people who do business with North Korea. So, obviously, the primary target there is China. We need to stay close with our key allies like Japan and South Korea. But we also need to encourage China to rein this guy in. So these sanctions can help achieve that. What can also help achieve it, though, is to increase our military presence in the region. China does not want a lot more American military ships, planes, people, etc., close to their border. And so the best way to alleviate that situation is for China to get the leader of North Korea to take a different path. But I think your point is exactly right. In order to convince China of that, we have got to make this military option more credible.
So obviously there's a lot of pressure on China. We've talked about them being a key player in this whole thing. They're almost exclusively, I mean, certainly the primary trading, importing, exporting partner with North Korea. If the hope is to somehow economically disadvantage North Korea to get their attention, how does that work to China's benefit? We know they have great concern about a collapse there in North Korea that would send millions of refugees flooding across their border. So how do you convince them that the diplomatic, the economic steps are the right ones with North Korea when in the back of their minds, they don't want to have to handle that kind of fallout either?
Well, they don't want instability in North Korea, but their calculation seems to be shifting a little bit. They also don't want an unstable, nuclear-armed North Korea. And as is often said, those missiles from North Korea can go all sorts of different directions. So there's a source of instability as well. China has more influence than anybody else. What I think the president's trying to do is get them to use that influence to take North Korea down a different path. But in the meantime, we have to have the credible military deterrent in order to defend the United States and our key allies. And among other things, that means we need to pump up our missile defense. You know, we have a few interceptors that can knock down some North Korean missiles, but we don't have nearly enough. And so that goes back to what we were talking about originally. We don't have enough subs. We don't have enough missile defense. We need to increase our military presence there and around the world to make up for these cuts over the last several years.
We know one of the latest parades that North Korea had with all the military paraphernalia and missiles, one of them that they displayed, and we don't know if it's operable or not, it does have a range that would reach the west coast of the United States. With that in mind, Senator McCain said he had dinner with the president last week, did not believe he was planning for any kind of preemptive strike. The administration has said everything is on the table. Should we believe that that kind of missile is operable and could be equipped with a nuclear warhead? Do you foresee a scenario in which the U.S. could act preemptively?
Well, as the president and others have said, all of those options, including that one, have to be on the table. Now, our intelligence analysts are going over, the video of the parade, trying to understand whether that's an operable missile or not. But there is no question that North Korea is trying to get a missile that can reach all of the United States and wants to put nuclear warheads on it. That's the reason we can't just go along this path that we've been on for so long, because that will lead to an untenable and dangerous situation for our national security.
How concerned are you about sort of this trickle-down idea of Iran being emboldened by North Korea's successes of sharing of technology, nuclear weaponry?
Oh, I think there's no question that that what has happened over the years is that countries have watched the United States not stand up to an aggression. So, for example, President Obama's red line in Syria that he did not enforce gave encouragement to North Korea that they could get away with things, that Putin could get away with things, that the Chinese could build those islands in the South China Sea, and Iran can test their missiles. So what we've seen is this cascade of aggression because people recognized the United States was not going to stand up to it. That's what President Trump has to turn around. You have to show that you are willing to stand up to aggression, and to do that, you have to have a credible military deterrent. The number one thing we could do to ensure we have that credible deterrent is to have a significant increase in our defense budget to develop those capabilities and to field them so that these folks all around the world know we're serious.
Well, and folks in Seoul, 25 to 26 million people are very aware. They're in the middle of the crosshairs, essentially, as this whole thing plays out. How do we reassure our South Korean ally?
No, it's a great point. So in addition to standing up to adversaries, we have to reassure allies. And that includes the people in Seoul, the people in Japan. Or a few days ago, I was in Europe with the speaker. They need to be reassured that we are going to stand up to Russian aggression too. So it's adversaries, it's allies, it's neutrals trying to figure out which way this is going to go. They're all looking to the United States. And again, what matters the most is not what we say, it's what we do. This is the time for us to enhance our military deterrent around the world.
Chairman Mac Thornberry, thank you for your time today.